In this video, I am talking about the Thrawn novel, which was done by Timothy Zahn. I tore through it, and I'm going to give you my thoughts. What is up, YouTube? It's Josh. This is the Den of Nerds. Guys, this video is all about that Thrawn novel. I was really looking forward to this. I absolutely tore through this audiobook as I was driving down to Orlando for Celebration. So this is going to be spoiler heavy. I'm sorry, I wanted to do maybe a non-spoiler review, but I'm just not that into it. So this can serve for a couple of different things. If you're not going to read the book, that's totally okay. This video will kind of inform you of what happens, what's cool, what's awesome about Thrawn, and whatnot. But if you are going to read the book and you're not done with it yet, don't watch this video. Come back afterwards, watch this video, and go through some of the points and kind of relive your enjoyment of the book from there. So let's get right into it. Now, first of all, I just want to say I unabashedly love this book. Thrawn, one of my favorite Legends characters. I was super excited when it was announced at last year's Celebration in London that they were bringing this character back to canon, and they made that announcement that he was coming to Rebels. This announcement coincided with the announcement of a Timothy Zahn novel. Zahn, of course, created this character and introduced us to him in the Heir to the Empire trilogy. He was the big bad for this trilogy and pretty much the most popular character from Legends, okay? So how did this version of the book compare to those other versions? Well, I've got to say, I honestly like this book better than any of the Heir to the Empire books, which is kind of surprising to say. It introduces so many different aspects of the character, brings in elements of Legends that we liked, introduces new elements to the Chiss and to other aspects of the story and canon, and really gives you a great version of Thrawn as opposed to the version that we got in Rebels. And I want to kind of sidebar for side Akbar, as the Rebel Scum guys would say, for just a second and explain what I think the problem with Thrawn was in Rebels, and it has to do with this book. I think that Dave Filoni, has such a respect for Timothy Zahn and Tim's character and the writing that he did in these books that he essentially didn't want to use Thrawn too much in season 3 of Rebels because he really wanted to give Tim and his book that I guess level or that prestige or however you want to think of it. He essentially wanted all of the awesome Thrawn new canon stuff to be in that book, not in Rebels. He didn't want to spoil anything that was going on in the book, but he more or less kind of played it safe to allow Tim's novel to really shine and really give us the Thrawn we were looking for. So I literally believe that he kind of kept hands off in season 3 of Rebels in order to basically honor the legacy of Thrawn and allow the creator to bring most of these awesome new canon elements, into the fray. And although this hurt Rebels a little bit for me, man, this book more than makes up for it. It is an absolutely amazing rendition of Thrawn. It tells certain stories that were in Legends. In fact, the first couple chapters are kind of an exact replica of a Legends story in which the Empire finds Thrawn. But there is kind of an awesome twist to that story that is revealed at the end of the book. But a couple of the things that I really, really like about the book is how they introduce the Chiss to the galaxy. Now, the Chiss exist in the unknown regions of space, and they have, not only worlds and a military and an amazing presence out there, but Thrawn is essentially tasked by the Chiss to come in and investigate the Empire. And there is this story that is looming over the book that we unfortunately never get told, but it is kind of a encounter of Anakin Skywalker and Thrawn during the Clone Wars. And I guarantee you we will get this eventually told, maybe in an animated series, maybe in a different book or a comic book, but essentially, Thrawn meets Anakin Skywalker during the Clone Wars, and they have an interaction. I believe it is towards the end of the Clone Wars. And essentially, this interaction plants the seeds for what will happen in this entire book. The Chiss are facing a threat in the unknown regions, which Thrawn just calls evil and powerful. It's kept very ambiguous as to what this threat is. But the threat is so big that Thrawn is going to go check out the Empire and essentially decide, is the Empire strong enough to be an ally against this threat? Or should he weaken the Empire so that this threat sees the Empire in our galaxy as an easier takedown than the Chiss? Essentially like, you know, tripping your friend while running away from the zombies, right? You know, allowing them to be the target instead of you. So Thrawn is faced with that task, and he essentially concludes that the Empire is strong and that it's strong enough to be a great ally. So he comes to Palpatine and offers to explain what the threat is, prepare them for the threat, and map out the unknown regions in exchange for him learning more about the Empire and being involved in the Empire itself. And so Palpatine actually puts him into the Imperial Navy, and the whole book of Thrawn is essentially the story of him being found as a prisoner and ending up being a Grand Admiral. So started from the bottom, now we hear. That is the story of this book, and it is super duper dope. Thrawn's journey through the ranks is really, really interesting, and one of the elements that I really loved about the book was his protege, a character named Eli. And this guy is kind of a lower level, he's just going to be like a supply officer in the Imperial Navy, but he happens to speak a language that's called Sybisti. Sybisti ends up being a language that Thrawn knows and has the Chiss have used in the past to communicate with travelers and traders. So because of this, and because Eli is actually really sharp, Thrawn takes him under his wing and makes him his protege. Now, what's really cool about this whole story is that Thrawn's greatest enemy as he rises through the ranks is actually racism. He, being a blue-skinned, red-eyed alien, is looked down upon by almost everybody in the Empire. Now, we've known as Star Wars fans for a long time that the Empire and people within the core planets do not like aliens. They're racist against aliens, but it was never explicitly spelled out why. And this is one of the brilliant things that the Thrawn novel does. It explains that because most of the leaders and planets from the Confederacy were alien, and most of the planets and leaders in the Republic were human, there's this lingering animosity towards non-humans within the Empire, because of course that was the Republic and the Confederacy during the Clone Wars. I thought that was really, really cool. And Eli is a brilliant character and an awesome plot device, because we really get to experience what it would be like to be around Thrawn. And he's like our human connection to this kind of non-human character. Another thing that I really, really, really loved about the book was essentially just being in Thrawn's head. Now, they explained that the Chiss have the ability to see infrared, so Thrawn can see heat signatures and changes in blood flow, like underneath people's skin. It allows him to really, really read people well and be the tactical genius that we know him to be. Essentially, Thrawn has been considered to be like a Sherlock Holmes type character, and he is that smart and that brilliant. They really do a great job of explaining in this book how he's able to make these connections and do all these tactically brilliant things. In the Heir to the Empire series, sometimes when Thrawn made a connection and was able to figure stuff out, it was like so far-fetched and circumstantial that you were like, really? I don't know if he'd really be able to do that. It bordered on like James Bond level ridiculousness, and it was, although very enjoyable, it wasn't as grounded as we'd like. This book does a great job of kind of grounding all of the things that Thrawn ends up learning about and understanding. So that was another aspect I really liked. I also like how he is not perfect and flawless. There are chinks in his armor, one of them being his ability to navigate politics. He's actually really poor at navigating politics. Continuously is brought in front of boards for things that he does, is reprimanded and then relieved of punishment and all of these different things. I thought that was really cool. There is a character that is essentially the antagonist of Thrawn, and he is known only as Night Swan, and he is this tactical genius that keeps kind of besting the Imperials, and he actually bests Thrawn a couple times, and their meeting at the end of the book was really, really cool. So that was an interesting aspect. He wasn't flawless, but really, really brilliant. I thought that was really cool. One of the things of the book that I really liked that I didn't expect to was the rise of Governor Pryce. Now, Governor Pryce in Rebel Season 3 is standing there with Thrawn. They know each other, obviously, and not only the growth of their relationship together, but her rise from just someone from a wealthy family that gets disenfranchised on Lothal and all the way up to governor was actually really, really cool. I like that character a lot more and looking forward to seeing more from her in Rebels Season 4. She's absolutely ruthless, man, and I thought that was pretty stinking cool. But I want to cut to the kind of end and my overall thoughts of the book and what I think it means for canon moving forward. So essentially, and this is something that was in the Aftermath books, Thrawn does help the Emperor navigate hyperspace lanes in the unknown regions, and Thrawn on his own discovers the Death Star, and he talks to the Emperor at the end of the book about the Death Star, and not only does he think it's just not a good idea, but he's also afraid that after it is used to control the Senate and that galaxy, that it will be used on the Chiss. It is a legitimate concern of Thrawn, and it's left kind of ambiguous as to how he will go about dealing with this and what his thoughts are about the Emperor after knowing that the thing is being built. He also takes Eli, who essentially becomes a human version of Thrawn, and gives him more or less to the Chiss higher ascendancy, and Eli becomes an ally and a advisor to the Chiss, which is really, really cool. So we have this Chiss guy in the Imperial Navy, and then we have Eli, this human guy, in the Chiss higher ascendancy and the Chiss military, which is a very interesting concept. Looking forward to see how that all plays out. Now, the epilogue itself was interesting because there are these little openings to the chapter that end up being a journal that Thrawn leaves for Eli, and the last entry was actually about friendship, which was kind of cool. And man, they really paint Thrawn as a noble person, which we know he is. So it's kind of left in this strange place where it's like, well, I wonder where we go from here. It leaves off right up to the moments of Season 3 of Rebels. So there's going to be, an expansion of Thrawn's character in the canon. But the big question remains, was he on the ship that goes into the unknown regions at the end of the Aftermath series? Is he going to flip and end up working against the Empire? And if Snoke is the threat that he was afraid of, is he going to come back in the current saga, but on the side of the Resistance? That could be really interesting because Thrawn is not this mustache-twirling villain. He is a man of honor, but because he needs to protect his people, he allies himself with the Emperor and with the Empire. So it's a very interesting ending. I liked it. It wasn't super conclusive. It doesn't have a great third act, but that's just kind of part of the problem with the canon Star Wars books in general, because they're just little nuggets of the story. Not many of them have amazing endings. Lost Stars does, though. Lost Stars does, although it kind of still leads into an area that could be explored more as well. So those are my basic thoughts. The review in general, I think that Thrawn is an amazing book. It's in my top 3 of my favorite Star Wars Disney canon novels, right under Lost Stars and Lords of the Sith. Absolutely incredible book. I highly recommend checking it out. So let me know in the comments section, what did you think of the Thrawn novel? Do you have any questions about things that might have went on in the book that I did not cover here? Please let me know. More than willing to talk to you guys about this in the comments section. So hit me up. As I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and nerdy day. See ya!